Why do people get so angry when someone goes against their viewpoint? And maybe that person has a really good point of view. And when one's point of view is challenged, that person has to do something about it. It's almost challenging one's reality, saying that the way they're perceiving life is incorrect. In a way, it's personal. And it could be about anything. The more one believes their own perspective, and the stronger that belief is, the harder it is to let that go. And there could be so many reasons why one's belief about anything is so important and is so correct. And I'm not saying you shouldn't fight for your own belief. You shouldn't argue about what is right according to you, or just what truth is, regardless of it being about why it's important to you, or what facts are, regardless. So to me, the problem isn't how important or how it makes you feel or the value that it all has. And it could have a lot of depth to it. You could have really good reasoning, and it makes a lot of sense. But more times than not, when one is challenged, or one's ideas or beliefs, or what's important to them is, it's kind of not taken that serious, or it's made to seem incorrect. It's really hard not to want to defend that and just stand by and be like, oh, you okay, or say nothing or agree, or it's hard to not do anything about that, or at least not want to. And I think that's healthy. I think that's really healthy, because what you believe is important. What's important to you has to mean something. And in some cases, it could mean everything. So I think you should say something. I think you should stand up for yourself. I think you should point out their errors or their incorrectness, or or just point to facts and data, and without it being about its importance to you. You just bring up, well, let's look at this fact, right? That in a way separates how important it is and its value to you and its emotion in a way, how you feel about it, from what we could look at as data or truth or fact or something that's not about you, regardless of how you feel about it. While that's helpful and everything, I still think you should have honor and loyalty, and not just what the ideas are that you're presenting or you're sharing or you're providing or you're given, but rather have this meaningful connection with your own feelings about it. Because that it means a lot to you. I mean, it's not just data, it's not just facts, it's not just, well, here's truth. That's very I don't know. It seems like absent of life. I think if you believe something's right or important or has value or significance or is the truth, I think it's so great. And it might even just be what's necessary to have feelings about it. In a way, that's what gives that information meaning. It's like your feelings give it it gives it meaning. I mean, that information, in a way, could exist regardless of any emotions that are about it. And in fact, probably it does if it's the truth or it's data or it's facts or it's has this relevance. Because even if you didn't exist, maybe there'd be other people that have, and probably that there'd be so many other people that would have feelings about that information, supporting it or not supporting it. But that's what makes that information important, is how you feel about it. Because then why really support it? Likewise, the person who is going against it or denying it or rejecting it or has problems with it, they're not necessarily having problems with it because, well, let's compare the data and let's look at which has more reasonable truth or scientific evidence or anything. But how they feel about it is what creates that, well, this is what I think. And in a way, it could be that it's not what I think, it's what is the truth, but this is how they're proposing it more so this is how I feel. Why would they be supporting it if it's not something that was important to them, meaningful to them, right? And that implies, well, there must be feelings that create that importance, create that meaning. So more times than not, we're not necessarily supporting an idea. I mean, we are. Okay? We are. But underneath it is what we're really supporting. We're supporting what supports the idea, what supports the belief, what's important to the individual, to us. Well, that's feelings. Regardless of truth and data and evidence, there's still feelings that we have that are basically the foundation, or we could say the roots, or we could say it's holding up whatever it is that's significant or important. So when it comes down to it, when people get angry, and we're in like a debate, or we're in an argument, we're in a disagreement, it's like these different perspectives are going towards each other. It's the emotion that's going towards each other. It's not what's right. It's not what the truth is. It's emotions. We could all day long say, no, it's the truth, or it's what's right, or it's, whatever the information is, we could say that's what we're supporting. But that's inaccurate. Because if that was true, if it was really about the information, or what is right, what is the truth, if it was really about that, then why argue? Wait, because the other person, maybe one of the two people, or whoever's in this situation, lacks understanding. Maybe. But then still, why argue? Why not realize, okay, that for some reason they're not getting this? Is it how I'm presenting it? Is it... It could become confusion at that point. It could then be about, well, it's not about the information. It's about this person for some reason. And it could be about how I'm explaining this isn't being understood. So then that becomes the challenge, as opposed to, well, let me share information. Let me give information. Let me provide it. So that's usually not the problem, right? Or, it could be the problem, but when I say it's usually not the problem is because we will argue. Because if that was a problem, why would there be an argument? I'm just trying to help you to understand, right? If we're in a problem, we're like, well, we may not say that outwardly. I'm just trying to help you understand. But that would be, if it's not about emotions, then that would be like the next step. All right, let me provide perspectives or other ways to look at this, and if I'm wrong, right? If we are trying to be a part of this and we're wrong, then it wouldn't be emotional. It would be like, okay, well, they got some really good points. Damn. And we could even say that outwardly, because it's not about how it makes us feel. It's about, well, I just want the truth. So you could say a lot of times, or maybe all the time, unfortunately, arguing and disagreeing and having these conflicts, it's not about truth. It's about how that truth makes us feel. If it is even the truth, because in a way that's irrelevant at this point, because it's how it makes us feel, regardless. Whether we're right, whether we're wrong, it's how it makes us feel. And this is why we follow our, put this in quotes, truth. It's because our emotion about it, it's so important. It's our emotion, it's how we feel about this truth that we are driven to get into pretty heated and, in many cases, disrespectful conversations. Why should it become disrespectful? if it's just about information, if it's just about what the truth is, if it's just about, well, let me help them understand, if it's just about, let me find ways to become creative with this information so it could be explored further about in such a way that, I don't know, it could be understood better. It's not about the information. Unfortunately, it's not. Because if it was, conversations wouldn't become heated. At least it wouldn't be heated from the person that has the perspective of, well, I have my feelings about it, fine, but it's not about the feelings. It's about just having truth, okay? And if I'm wrong, I'd like to be okay with that. I'd like to say, hey, okay, well, it's not about how I feel about it, is it? Even though I do have feelings about it, it's more so about what the hell the truth is. What is right? I want to explore that. And if that was really the case, let's just say even for one person in this situation, that person wouldn't get heated. That person wouldn't, be raising their voice. That person wouldn't be disrespectful. They wouldn't be talking down to the other person. They wouldn't be minimizing the other person's ideas. A lot of times that happens. Oh, you believe this, but blah, 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 blah. Or, are you sure about that? Or it's like all this question that's demeaning, it becomes very toxic. And this is what a lot of conversations, arguments, debates, whatever it may be, they become toxic. It's like, imagine if one person, let's say it's two people, okay, and a lot of times it's not. It's one person and one person with three others that, are so emotionally involved. And the person, I'm not saying you can't be emotionally involved, but what I'm trying to relate to here is that we could have one person out of the bunch. Well, in this case, let's say one person with another person. The one person that's not so involved emotionally, it's not the emotion that's, they're driven by. They're not going to be disrespectful. They can't be. Because it's not about how it makes them feel. The other person may lose their damn mind. Because when it's about how we feel, we'll fight for how we feel because it's so important to us. It means so much to us. It makes us feel a certain way. So we want that to be accepted. We want that to be heard. We want that to be I don't know. It's like we have loyalty to how we feel. We could have pride with how we feel, because why not? It's how I feel. And I'm proud of it, right? There's all this emotion that's very personal. It's about ourselves. That's really what we're supporting. And someone who's not like that, they're going to be able to maybe even realize it, or maybe not, but it doesn't matter. I mean, it does, because you don't want to continue something that's turning into, like, I don't know, it could get really bad. But the point I'm trying to make here is, a person who's not all coming from that place, well, they're not going to be demeaning. And if they came off that way, or they seemed like they did, or the other person was like, why are you talking to me like that, or blah, 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 they'd say, I'm sorry, I'm not, no, let's start fresh, or let's just not go there, because that's not what my intentions are. That's not how I feel. I care about you. I care about your understanding. I care about this conversation. I care about the search for truth. So let's just start, my bad. If that was the case, I'm sorry. And it's not my intentions at all. So this is what you were saying. This is what you think. What about this? Or if they say the same to you, say, well, well, okay, well, what about this towards what I'm thinking? You got a good point. I don't know. Let me think about that for a second. I haven't thought about it like that. Maybe there's something there. Maybe I could agree to it. I really don't know. Let me explore that. It could be a really good conversation, even if it's one person that's not being so emotional, because it's not about their emotions. That person could guide that conversation. That person could... You could see the difference here. Now imagine if both people were just emotional about what they're supporting and their ideas and their beliefs and all that, right? They're so emotional. This is where it gets super toxic, it's almost like at a level of, it's like, I don't want to be a part of that. And unfortunately, this is how a lot of relationships are. A lot of friendships are, a lot of workplace environments are, a lot of just interactions with anyone. Doesn't matter. Because somebody's supporting how they feel, as opposed to whatever the truth actually is, or whatever the facts actually are, or whatever the evidence actually is. It's how people feel. They're supporting how they feel. Now, why are people doing this? This is going to get straight to the point of, you know what? Somebody's actually afraid. When we get like this, right? I'd like to say most people get like this. I've gotten like this like my whole life. When we get like this, what's important to realize is how emotional you're getting. When we get so emotional, we can realize it's not about the information anymore. It's about our emotions. And if we can get to that point and realize, okay, what about our emotions is this about? That right there is the $1 million question. Forget about the information. Stop supporting it. Stop everything that you could therefore have an answer towards. Well, the information is so important and blah, 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 because that's not what's happening. Why is your emotion getting to such a point? Here's the thing. This is not life or death. If it was, I'd say not to forego any of this, and there's a way to even handle a life or death situation. But most situations aren't life and death, right? But yet it feels like it. So it's not the information that's challenged, it's us. We're disrespected. Even if we're not being disrespected, it feels like it. Information that we're trying to support because it's so important to us, because it's how we're feeling. It almost feels like we're supporting, I don't know, let's pretend that information was our child. Or whoever is important to you in your life. Or something that is really important to you. Maybe it's your career or your religion or anything. It could be anything. It could even be like your house or where you live or the clothes you wear. If it's so personal, we support the information as if it's so personal. We'll fight. We'll fight for it. Or hurt others in the process. Because look how personal this is. Why wouldn't I fight for something that's so important to me? It's so important. Of course I'm going to fight for it. And that's the problem. It becomes as if who we actually are, our own existence of just mattering, is challenged. So what has to happen here in order to get through this in a, I'd like to say meaningful, loving, caring, respectful way, which we could have honor, we could have self-respect, we could be coming from this place of like, I'm important. Because you are important, aren't you? We have to acknowledge that we are. And work with this, because in these situations, I'm not saying you can't do this in these situations, but these situations, we need to practice for situations like this. Sit on our own, really think about this, and get to this place of, I have a hard time sharing how I feel. Because if I didn't have a hard time sharing how I felt, why does, when it comes out, it's like a fight upon whomever? Because it's literally who we are, our ability to really care about ourselves, that's really being put on the table. That's really what's at stake here. How we feel about ourselves. And this is what the emotion is when we are having our feelings make anything else important. Any idea, anything that we'd say is important to us, well, there's an emotional resonance behind that. There's an emotional connection. There's something that's emotionally attached to that, and it should be, because it's important to you. But we don't ask ourselves, what is that emotion? Why is that emotion there? And if we could realize that emotion is what we are supporting, as opposed to what it is that we are, what the information is that we're supporting, then we could say, what's the emotion that I need to understand? I don't need to understand the information. I'm not saying that wouldn't be good, or because information and truth and knowledge and all that, that's literally like everything in the world. But without the emotion, what's the point? So the emotion is really everything, right? The emotion is what gives anything meaning. Otherwise, things wouldn't really have that much meaning. I'm not saying they wouldn't, but I mean, most things in this world, it has so much meaning, but the word meaning in and of itself is a word of emotion. So, what I'm trying to say here is what we're facing here, it's not the information. It's not, what the other person's truth is or what they're saying or whatever. We could say, well, look how they're doing it. They're being really rude, or they're disrespectful, or they're manipulating. And that could be really hurtful too. That could really be bothersome. That could really be like, I'm not going to tolerate that. But look at all that. That's still, it's not like information versus information. It's emotions. It's all emotions. So we have to realize something here. What are you trying to support? If it's just emotion, what is it we're supporting the most? So keep all like information or what you believe or whatever the truth is that you're trying to support or has a lot of value to you. Keep that out of this question, because it's not about that. It's about what inside of us are we supporting that feels so strong that we'll fight for it, because it's this that we are fighting for. It's this that we are struggling with. What is this?